Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad. Today we're going to go through the KOTU Report. We're going to share what the Democrats and Republicans are actually holding, and I'm going to share my thoughts on what you probably should or should not be doing. If that's what you're interested in, stick around. So on Friday, link to the video up above, I shared my picks for the stock market for the next 10 years or thereabouts. Here's my list. You can take a quick look at it, and I'm going to share with you the KOTU report that just came out and their picks for the next 5 years. See how my list compares to their list, which is very interesting. KOTU came out with a report, and they think AI will be the big driver over the next few years. You have where it came from with the mainframe, the PC, the networking, development of the internet, mobile internet, cloud, and now we're into AI. If you didn't know, hey, the market has changed over the years in the US market cap. And that's very interesting how it has changed. And you can see that industrials have gone down, financials have gone down, and tech is going up. And can tech be 75% of the total market cap? That is something to be discussed. So how has the tech changed over the years? 2015 to today. You can see certain companies are going down, certain companies are going up, but there's always new players coming in and out. But you see Apple's dropping, you see Microsoft still stays close to the top. Amazon, Meta, Broadcom is now on the list. Oracle is on the list and coming up. That is something for you to be aware of. Tesla is also moving up, and there is Visa on that list. One, I'm not going to go through the whole entire report. I'm leaving a link down below just in case you want to go look at this report yourself. I'm just picking the slides that I thought was interesting and sharing them with you. It's hard to stay on top. If you look from 1995 to 2025, only 16 has stayed on top. They've always changed over the years who's on top. The percentage of new names in the top 25. That's interesting because I have a feeling going forward the next 5 years that the top players may not change a whole lot. Is the Mag 7 reign ending? Let's take a quick look at a chart. It's telling me year to date, Apple's down, Tesla's down, Google's down, Amazon's down. What is going on with the Mag 7? And will things change for the Mag 7? That is the question. KOTU really thinks things are changing, and things are changing very quickly. So where you're deploying your capital may or may not be in the right place, because some of these companies probably will not be in the S&P 500. They might not even be in the NASDAQ for another year. So by the time you actually get exposure to them holding indexes, it might be too late. And maybe you want a stronger concentration of some of these, because if you hold single stock ETFs, Yield Max or Curve or the new Roundhill funds and new Rec Share funds, you may be able to produce higher income with less capital. So KOTU thinks there's a new class of AI winners maybe taking center stage. You got AI power, you got AI software, you have AI semis, and then what's the question about the Mag 7? One thing I thought was very interesting in this report is that they talked about Bitcoin. Believe it or not, Bitcoin showed up on the list. That is just amazing. And they're talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin breaking out over the next few years. As I previously stated, they think AI is going to go into a super cycle. So we have the KOTU's view of the future in AI. Cloud CapEx continues to exceed expectations. That is something to be said. These larger companies continue to spend money in building out cloud capabilities with CapEx expenditures. But some of these companies have some headwinds. Google, as you can see now, has some headwinds. the actual Google pages per view growth is starting to go down ever since ChatGPT has come out. So we know AI is starting to dig into a little bit of Google. My point of view is Google also runs YouTube, so they have multiple revenue streams. Now, one thing I keep on trying to tell people is I think there's going to be rate cuts before the end of the year. I think most people can agree with that. The inflation numbers, according to KOTU, is sitting at 1.6. This is tariffs have not played into this yet, and this is actually showing with live rents, because the rent data has really kind of skewed the information coming from the Fed. So let's read some of the tea leaves of what may not be coming. Today, automotive, oil, manufacturing, and global leaders in industrial revolution. Tomorrow, it's semiconductors, electricity, AI factories, and global leaders in AI revolution. That is where things are probably heading for investors, and you should get ahead of this. Today's top 50 technology stocks, according to KOTU. You can see the list. You can pause the screen or go read the report, but it's Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Google, Bitcoin, Facebook, Broadcom. You can read the list for yourself. KOTU has come out with their fantastic 40 list, something for you to think about. This is where they're looking to invest and advising other people that might be some place for you to invest. And remember, none of this is financial advice, legal advice, or any other advice. Just spread on the internet, sharing information with you. They say going forward in 2030, Microsoft is on top. Nvidia, Bitcoin, Amazon, Meta, TSMC, Tesla, Broadcom, OpenAI, Oracle. You can go down the list and pause the screen or go read the report. But you notice that there's some names that were not on my list that aren't on their list now. Very interesting. But Microsoft, Nvidia, Bitcoin, Amazon, Facebook with Meta and Tesla are all on the list. But noticeably missing is Google and Apple. Those two are missing from this list, and Visa and some of the other players are missing from this list. And of course, I picked 3 wild cards, being that Coinbase, MSTR, and Hood. But they're really not into the AI space. That is a very interesting set of 40 stocks that you may or may not want to be looking at. Now, let's take a quick look at what the Democrats and Republicans are actually invested in. And you know, there's 2 funds out there that actually track this, because Congresspeople have to report to the SEC what their holdings are. So there are 2 funds, one for the Democrats and one for Republicans. Yay! Doesn't matter which side of the aisle they play on, they both play unfair, because you know as well as I do that they have information that you and I do not have. So let's take a quick look. So NANC top holdings, these are the Democrats, has Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Salesforce. Interesting. Republicans has Bitcoin, JP Morgan, Comfort Systems, Nvidia, and AT&T. Well, that's an interesting group of stocks that they both hold. But I went out and I looked at today's just to make sure things haven't changed. And you can see that the Republicans still hold JP Morgan, iBit, Comfort Systems, Nvidia, AT&T, Allstate, and you can read the list for yourself, because I see big oil on there. If I go to the Democrats, maybe the Democrats know something more than the Republicans. Oh, we won't even go down that road. But hey, they have Nvidia, Amazon, Google, CRM, PM, which is not very healthy for you and I, Netflix, American Express, Meta, and Apple. Interesting how their percentages change, but clearly they like Nvidia. So on Friday's video, I already linked. I showed you 2 years of returns if you own NVIDIA. So I'm going to be continuing that series of what you could invest on single stocks, either with YieldMax, Rex shares, or with Curve. You pick. I'm not picking sides. I'm only showing you the data for you to make your decisions because, hey, if you can invest a smaller amount in a fixed amount of individual stocks, you may be able to overperform in income. And that's because individual stocks have higher implied volatility than indexes. So an index having a volatility of 16 compares to nothing to a stock that has a volatility of 30 or 40 or greater. So until next time, God bless.